Hello friends, I'm back with another package, but this time I actually know what's in it. And it's something I've been pretty excited about for a long time. If you've already read the title, you already know what it is. Amongst other things in here is a brushless airsoft motor. Now, if you don't know about brushless motors, they are different from your typical AEG motor. If you've ever opened up the motor to look at it, the motor works by two brushes connecting to the commutator in the middle that basically alternate the magnetic field as it spins. Whatever. It's a physical solution, and a brushless motor uses semiconductors to, instead of using brushes, electronically control the polarity of the magnetic field. Whatever. Without getting into the science of it, this is the new Expert brushless motor, and it just showed up on eVic a couple days ago, and I'm really excited to take a look at it. So, let's see. It comes in, obviously, in its own little box here. Inside, it's in its own plastic case. Opens up. You can see the instructions are here on the bottom. I am going to have to do some rewiring. Here's the motor itself. Now, because the polarity of the field is magnetically controlled, electronically controlled, that means it has to have a circuit on board. So it has this circuit board here, and so what they did is actually integrated a MOSFET into the motor itself. So this motor can program burst fire, fire delay, it'll give you low voltage warning, a whole bunch of different things. So it has the onboard circuit, and then this is the wire that will connect into basically the trigger unit. Also in the box here, besides the motor, you do have some wiring. Again, this is to get me into the trigger. And then this is basically to program it. This is my connection cable, and this will connect into the programming device and into the bottom of the motor itself to program burst, timing, delay, whatever I want to do. So really excited to get this in a rifle and see how it compares. So the rifle that I'm going to be putting it in is a KWA SR10. This is pretty much a stock rifle. It has the original KWA high torque motor in it, so the trigger response is pretty good in semi, and in full auto it's shooting about 20-21 rounds per second. So it's a pretty decent rifle, and right there again at 400 feet per second, so it's not a weak spring that's in it. So I'm going to take this KWA high torque motor out, put the new brushless motor in, and then we can compare the trigger response, the rate of fire, and one of the other major advantages of using a brushless motor is going to be the noise and efficiency, so we'll see how that goes. Alright, so they give you a diagram to show you what your motor wiring looks like before and what it's supposed to look like after. So I will be taking everything out of the gearbox here. I've already opened it up, and I'm essentially going to turn this wiring into this one. Shouldn't be too hard, but I will need to cut some wires and do some soldering. So let's jump to that. Okay, so my soldering is done. Kids, learn to solder better than me. You can see here is the positive red wire, and now it connects into the positive wire running from the battery to the trigger switch. And what I've done then is run the signal wire, which is this blue one, to the other side of the trigger switch. It shows in the diagram to just connect the blue one to the existing wire coming out, but there's plenty of blue wire, so I actually just took out the little bit of wire running from the switch and just wired this directly itself. So let's go ahead and plug it in and do some testing. Alright, so plugging in 11-1 LiPo. Okay. So there is the circuit coming online. You heard the one long beep followed by two short beeps. That tells me that my motor and its circuit are online. So let's do a test fire. Hold on to this motor here. I have no idea. Alright. Well, there you go. I'm holding down the trigger and it stops. So that may actually just be sensing that it's not moving anything. That is really quiet though. There's full auto. Yeah, that is nice and quiet. Okay, let's get the gun back together and actually do some real testing. Alright, so I've got the motor inside my KWA SR10 body. Couple things that I want to note. The trigger response is outstanding, especially in semi, where it does a little bit of pre-cocking. So after the first shot, in semi, it does stay pre-cocked most of the way through the cycle. So that way the next time that I fire in semi, that trigger response is insanely fast, and you can see that it does pre-cock it back. So in semi, where trigger response really matters, you do get a pre-cock. To disengage the pre-cocking, you actually flip it into full auto. Fire a burst, the piston moves back to the front. It comes programmed to a 3-round burst. You can change it anywhere from 2 to a 5-round burst. But let's say you want to really put some covering fire downrange, you want to put full auto through a window. Well, you've got it in burst, how do you overcome that? Well, what they did is they built in a feature where if you pull the trigger again quickly after releasing a burst of 3 rounds, or whatever you're set at, it will switch into full auto. Let's just demonstrate it. Now I maintain that full auto functionality and the 3-round burst. If I go back to it, 3 rounds. But I can always come back and do a quick 1-2 pull and go into full auto. You can see after full auto, it did pre-cock just a little bit, so to disengage that, I'm going to go ahead and just do a 3-round burst. Piston is back in the front, and I'm good to store it. Programming is done by taking off the motor plate, and there again you'll plug in the remote and change the burst settings on it. Just the motor itself increased my rate of fire by about 5 rounds a second. Now this is not a plug-and-play motor. I did have to get into the gearbox and do some rewiring, but for the increased rate of fire, the crazy trigger response, the burst functionality, the built-in MOSFET, low voltage warning, it's a pretty beastly motor. Now it's definitely more expensive than your average motor, but again, you're getting a motor and a built-in MOSFET. So I'm really excited. I'm taking it out to field this weekend, going to see how it does in some real-world scenarios. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you're excited to finally start seeing brushless motors in Airsoft. They've been in RC now for a while, and this just showed up on EVIC a couple of days ago. I grabbed it, and it's now out of stock. So hopefully this brushless motor by RA Tech, Maple Leaf, whoever it is, will come back in stock and we'll start to see more of them out there. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you're looking forward to getting one of these in your workhorse. As always, I'm Doc with Redbeard Airsoft. I'll see you on the field.